Okay, so what is your negotiating strategy? There are five negotiation strategies, so there's also a vision. So, what kind of fundamental strategies? So, you can have all kinds of hybrid forms of these, but there are different kinds of strategies, and the five main strategies are competitive strategies, it's going head to head. Collaborative strategy is basically you're approaching the problem from side to side, from side by side. Ne? So it's basically the negotiation where I am not going to sit right in front of my negotiator, but I'm going to sit at the same time of the same side of the table as my counterpart, and we are going to not look confront each other headways, but we're going to look at the problem.
Mm.
Then we have the compromising strategy. It's basically, let's meet each other halfway. Okay, let's split the difference. But that's not always a good strategy, by the way. Then we have the avoiding negotiation strategy. Is trying to basically avoid a direct confrontation. That's where you are usually going to give in a little bit more. Then you're going to ask for. And you have the accommodating. It's basically whatever. I'm going to do whatever you ask, and that is an accommodating. So I need to have this. I need to have that. I need to have the other. Remember what I was talking about in the beginning about the people working for the division that I am currently working at. They have a very difficult time to say no, and basically because the power balance is in favor of the customer very much. They cannot say no. So whenever they are negotiating, they are not really negotiating. They are accommodating. They're automatically they feel that they have to give in to whatever the customer is asking, whether that is something we would normally provide as a service or as a product, or maybe not, but if the customer wants it, okay, why don't we do it? So accommodating strategy is actually usually the result of a skewed power balance.
I don't understand accommodating.
To accommodate, I'm accommodating to your needs. That means that I'm going to do whatever is necessary to fulfill your needs.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go out of my way to do whatever you need. So you ask, I deliver. Cool.
Step back.
So basically, I'm not really negotiating. I'm just going to ask whatever you want. So you basically, if you have a list of needs, I'm going to just write them down, and I'm going to deliver them one by one. That's accommodation. It's not really a negotiation. It's actually so an accommodative negotiation is more or less giving into whatever.
Or giving.
Yeah, it could be that there's a difference in power. It could be that this deal is really not important for you, but you really want to have deliver some value, give a good impression, because in your interest, it is very important that you get a good rapport with the other side, so that you can in the future benefit from this negotiation. It happens a lot in Japan, right? So sometimes it's important that you give good conditions to your customer or your supplier, but in the future you will kind of like otagai. You will be able to get something back. It's not always one deal doesn't always make money or even cost money, or it's almost impossible. But if that's what it takes to maintain the relationship, then you can be pretty sure in Japan that in the future you will be able to get something extra. So that is basically an accommodating way of negotiating. So the strategy that you're going to choose, basically the strongest strategy, the most hardball negotiation is number 1, and the lowest is the number 5, the accommodating one. So how do I decide which strategy to choose? Depends on these 5 factors below. So number 1, is how strong is your BATNA. I talked about this before, but BATNA is super important. BATNA being the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That is basically, what option do I have if this deal doesn't happen? So if I have a good alternative, I can be much harder in my negotiation, because I don't have much to lose. But if you have a lot to lose, if you don't have a BATNA, or your BATNA is not very good, that means that you probably have to give in a lot more. So the stronger your BATNA, the higher your fundamental strategy could be. So the more competitive you can become. How much time do you have? I heard actually, I read about negotiation in China, and I heard that it's one of the favorite Chinese negotiation tactics is to delay negotiations, to drag them out, and to make sure that the other side is getting into time pressure. So this would work very well, for example, with listed American companies, Americans always in a hurry to strike a deal, but especially listed companies who every quarter need to report their profits. They don't have time for long negotiations. They don't have time to negotiate a lot. It needs to be worth their while. Otherwise, it's not going. It doesn't fit within their needs, within their interests. So the more time you have, the harder you can negotiate. Then how important is the relationship with you? Obviously, the more important the relationship is, the less hard your negotiation will be. So it's more likely to be compromising, avoiding, or even accommodating. What is the strategic value of the deal? If it's very strategic, you will need to make concessions in your negotiation strategy. And finally, what is the monetary value of the deal? Is it peanuts or is it major? If it's peanuts, why don't you throw a bone? I mean, you can basically give them this deal for a good price, and maybe later you will get a bigger deal. You get a better price. So you look at these 5 points and say, okay, what negotiation strategy am I going to look for? If I have a strong BATNA, if I have lots of time, if the relationship is not that important to me, if the strategic value of the deal is not that high, and if the monetary value of the deal is relatively small, I'm very likely to be a competitive bidder. So, okay, I'm going to see if I can get a better deal, but I actually already have a car that I want to have for this price. It is available, it's still on sale, but if I can get even a better price for this car, I may buy it. But otherwise, I'm just going to leave it and just going to turn around, walk 500 meters to the next dealership, and I'm going to buy the other car.
Okay.
All right.